Hello there, and welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugging Along, we returned to the Crowd Control Broke plugin and added some debug capability and the beginning of a UI. Today, we're going to actually step back and revisit the MinstrelBuffs plugin. I kind of set that aside a few weeks ago because I was very excited about the Crowd Control Broke plugin. And we're going to check to see what, if any, remaining localization issues there are, fix them if we can, and release a patch so that others can get a jump on that and see if it's working for them as well. So, advance warning, we're going to have to restart the client at least once in order to change languages and try things out. And I may have forgotten to do a patch on each of the languages, so that'll take a few extra seconds as well. Anyway, as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, away we go. Let me actually move a window around here. And there we go. Okay. Where are we? We're in Bree. Excellent. Okay. So, first things first. I was just glancing through a bug report or a submission of issues that someone made over on LOTRO interface, and this is under the MinstrelBuffs Auto Combat Timer. And they're giving lots of information, which is great, but it's been a little while since I've looked at this. So it might guide some of the directions we're going today. And so I'm going to glance through that while I take a drink here and see what I'm missing. Okay, so number one here. Well, let's go take a look at the files so we can see them side by side with this person's comment. So I'm going to bring myself over to Documents and Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, MinstrelBuffs. And let us check out, what do we think they're in? Let's see. Did they tell me the file? They did not. That's okay. Strings is definitely a place. And the other one is Minstrel Effects. Yeah. And just out of curiosity, if I do a save type as Lua, yeah, okay. And save type as Lua. Okay. So, other thing that they were commenting on is that when you have non-ASCII characters in your Lua files, sometimes that can cause problems. So, for example, the umlaut over the U in Fior could be rendered differently in an ASCII format with backslash commands. And that way you don't have to rely on the file being read as correctly as UTF-8, as opposed to any of the other possible encodings. And that would definitely cause a problem. If you have a UTF-8 file encoded and that's loaded on the system for some reason it's interpreted differently, sure, that could be a problem. And settling back on an ASCII solution could solve that problem. And they're saying, well, they say that it looks like this, which is not great. You can see the A with an umlaut over it is not getting handled correctly by the drag bar. But other than that, they say it works. Okay. Computer enhance. Exactly. That was a bit small. Oh. How's that? There you go. So, we can see over on the left panel, the A with the umlaut is what we would expect in that particular word. But that's not what we see. Oh, here it is. Subs like a Sprach tracker, great. Now, they also played around with swapping out pictures for anthems for them to make sense, because in the time since MinstrelBuffs came out, several of these have changed. Dungo says, hello, lurking at work. Well, hello. Welcome. We're just reading through some issues here and admiring someone hand fixing up some of these things. Now, my only issue with this fix is I could swear that icon there is actually still in use by one of the traits. Let's see. Yes, that's Anthem of Prowess, so it still needs to be there. So that would suggest there's actually maybe 7? I would have to check. Anthem, you can't search on this screen. Anthem of the Third Age, Anthem of Prowess. Maybe it's the banner one that can be replaced. I second guess myself on which anthems there are. Anthem of something. Okay, so those are the 2 that you can train into, Anthem of Composure and Anthem of War. All right, so I think the banner one is no longer correct. So if I were swapping in, I would swap in for banner, and then of course that one with the face and the notes is no longer in use, I think. But kudos on them for jumping in and giving it a shot themselves. Yes, his little redhead says, I hate it when my subs Gespracht tracker gets messed up. Me too. Gesprach in German looks very much like Gesprechen in Dutch, so it sounds like talking, which that's soliloquy. Why not? All right, so as mentioned, the pictures are misleading, preventing additional work after possible icon change in the future. I edited the pictures as possible. They went with just neutral. I do kind of like the neutral, but if your anthem they're going to fill in specific spots on that and a fix, then I appreciate having the grayed out ones. So we'll look at that. All right, and on the German one, they had issues with hyphens, so for the anthems. Oh, and apparently they say I do okay when I pronounce German words. Thank you very much. All right. So, let's see. And then they pinged me again because it's been a while because I got distracted, and I was like, okay, I should pay attention to this. All right, so the first thing is Ansi encoding files is potentially a way for the file to be more universal. Just in case on someone's system that A with an umlaut, U with an umlaut, E with an accent over it, if those are not being read correctly, then the ASCII method seems to be a little bit more portable, a little bit more universally usable. But it comes with the downside of it's not very human readable and is kind of a pain to make. So I'm going to focus on making sure things work on my system in the UTF-8, and then I might do the conversion. Okay, so what do we have here? Let's go ahead and go into System and Plugin Manager and load our MinstrelBuffs, and then we can go ahead and move MinstrelBuff and the soliloquy tracker over. And then if we go ahead and, well, the only thing we can do from here on top of the Lalia's Market is the major ballad in healing mode. Well, game, you're lovely, but your noise is a little bit much for me today. Okay, so things are obviously going pretty well there. And we'll just go ahead and make sure we get anthems. This is all in the English client, of course, where I spend most of my time. And so I would hope it is working. Seems to be great. Okay, so that's good. The other thing, well, let's focus on non-war combat. War mount combat, there are some extra names in there, but I want to focus on the stuff that I know really well. War mount combat, we played around with that a few streams ago, but ultimately I just don't do it very much, and I don't really understand it nearly as well as like on foot combat. So. All right, is there anything else I want to do in the English client before I jump into the German client and start poking around there? I'm not thinking of anything. So, If I had a second account and I didn't want to worry about my computer having to do lots of extra work, I can open up both clients at the same time. I'm just going to go ahead and log out, though, because I don't think you can patch while a client is live. So let's see, switching servers. Going to go ahead and exit the game here. It's going to take a moment. Yeah, I guess we can just show the desktop. It's pretty boring. Okay, so remember that when you're switching languages, you're going to the fourth button from the right up here. It's EN for English, but if you hover over it, it does say select a language in each of the three languages. And we're going to go ahead and switch over as soon as that client finishes closing out. The patch needs to be able to write to some of the data files, and the game tends to lock those files when it's open. So a thing I try to do, and I don't do this every time, is when a patch comes out, like it did last Wednesday, is to go ahead and just cycle through each of the languages right then and there, just in case I need to do something like this. Okay. Yeah, that request for escalation is a good sign that I forgot to do this. Or what? Well, I don't know what that says in German, but it sounded like I'm going to try again in a minute. Yes. Talking to the patch server, getting stuff. Excellent. While we're at it, we'll go ahead and patch the French version of the client data files as well. And I shouldn't let it get to me, but when I see the French and I come in here and I see something that looks like maintenance, it's like, oh no, the servers are down. No. No. That is not what that is saying. Okay, and then swapping back to German. Excellent. Now, when you escalate like that, any saved username and password don't necessarily persist. So I'm just going to relaunch the client here one last time so it has my password and I don't have to type it. There we go. Okay, so let's play on Evernight. Part of my wish is some, rich Dutch billionaire who loves Lord of the Rings Online would just go and fund the translation of Lord of the Rings Online into Dutch. It's like, here's 20 people and $5 million. Go do the thing. I don't think that will ever happen. And it's probably not a good use of resources for it to happen, but I feel like it would be very cool for my Dutch language skill learning process. Right, it says Dutch LOTRO sounds very niche. Yes, it does. That would be quite the rich person flex. Like, this is so ridiculous. 5 people in the world actually want it. And I'm one of them, so I'm going to make it happen. Okay, here we are in Breland. Of course, no hyphen in the name because got to be a little bit different. I feel like German words would be a little easier for non-German speakers to read if they had hyphens between all the compounds. But I have a feeling that would really mess you up if you were a native speaker. Okay, we need somewhere with a little bit more stuff to attack. Let's see. So if I were a traveling type of person, I would remember where all these places go. My goodness, that's a lot of things. All right, new idea. Let's open up an instance. Ooh, seasonal. Oh, okay. Epic battle instances, non-scalable instances. Okay. Oh, other. No, maybe. Oh, those are. Where's my other category? Am I misremembering such a thing? That's okay. Where is anything? Oh man, I forget just how disorienting it is to come on in here. Let's go for an offensive, and let's go for Archer in Buckelstadt. Love it. And I'm going to dial that down to like 130. Oh, we were having a conversation last night on the QPlugins Discord server about how the layouts, when you switch different languages, aren't always quite the right size for the things that they contain. Like the label box, which you would think there was room for the minimum, it's just like a pixel too small, so that M is wrapping over to the next line there for a minimum, and just little things like that where maybe it fit once upon a time, but then something changed by a pixel, and now the M is wrapping. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump on in here. And so my first step is going to be to try not to die. But my second step is going to be, let's use the plugin like... I really like that they redid the voiceover intro in German. That's nice. Yeah, so I'm going to A, try not to die, because I haven't played this character in a while, but B, try to use the plugin like I normally do, which will require it to be loaded. Let's go ahead and do it for all the time for typos. And then we'll start there. Okay. Yeah, help the tux. Okay, excellent. Good news is I am able to defeat things in here without dying. So let's go ahead and get these anthems up here. Okay, excellent. So we can see that we do have the Hymn of the Third Age, but that didn't come up in the tracker. Perfect. Love it. Thank you so much, Farothen, for reporting that problem. Now, if we come over here to the combat, we can go ahead and replicate that here. We can go ahead and cry of the chorus and, oops, no. Okay. So we can get the text here. Oh, but the real question is, what is the name of the effect here? We can see maybe it's a small hyphen in the effect list and a large hyphen. All right, so what we really want is to spit out the name of the effect into our standard chat channel. And then we can copy paste straight from there. Okay, so we're going to pause here. Tooklim can just exist for a little bit while we go ahead and pull up our code window and start doing some coding. So in MinstrelBuffs, the first thing we want to pull up is, oh, where is this happening? Let's check out the buff window and oh, what an exciting noise my computer is making. Whoops. Okay, so I think I'm looking for something called an effect list. So I'm going to do a recursive search within the MinstrelBuff folder. And it looks like main has an effect list. Excellent. Oh, we even have a write buffs to chat. Neat. Maybe we should just make use of that. Excellent. Effect. Okay, so we can see when an effect is added, removed, or cleared. We call effect changed callback. Awesome. And we can see effect changed callback is really just a redirect to refresh effect display. Okay, what does that do? Okay, so we get the effects, we sort them by time. Make that text a little bit bigger. And then do something special for fixed anthems, which I'm still curious to go look at that, but we'll be back. Okay, and then in the effects list, okay, if it's a valid effect, now we need to output this before that. So my concern is I don't want to do this every time, but that might be what's necessary. So we'll go ahead and use that. Let's see. Write buffs to chat. Let's do that. Although, do we have a main minstrel buff main reference? Yes. Okay, MB main. That's what it is. Excellent. So, oh, of course, we're here. Sorry, I thought we were bouncing between a couple of different windows. We're not. Okay, so refresh effects display. We're actually going to call self : write buffs to chat. Now this is going to get kind of spammy, so I'm prepared to stop that when I need. I'll leave this window on up here. And then if I go ahead and, awesome. Okay, so I've turned it off so I don't get any more spam. And we can see the resonant hymn of the third age did pop up here in chat. So let's go ahead and, now we can see we don't have a match here in the file, but what happens, there we go. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing I wasn't expecting. In the combat log, I think they used a different hyphen, which is just fantastic. Yes. Okay, so if you go by the combat log, you use a large hyphen, and if you go by the effect list, you use a small hyphen. That is a delightful little incongruity that caught me out, because I'm almost positive I went with the combat log, not realizing that there could even be a difference internally. I'm not sure how that happened, other than I assume that the internal data structure for Lord of the Rings has a separate what do we put into combat and what goes in the effect list string. And if you've ever worked with something like Microsoft Word, you know it's really easy for your short dashes to become long dashes when Word doesn't. Oh, I think he meant a long dash. It looks prettier. So you can almost deconstruct a little bit how the underlying game must store things in order for you to get these two different outputs. Well, that's cool. Okay. So I'm going to guess that each one of these long dashes needed to be a short dash. But we'll go ahead and reload the plugin. And, oops, that's still going to be chat spammy. Cool, okay. So that brings us back. The Hymn of the Third Age, great. Now, in order to test another one, we're going to need to switch over to a different stance. Awesome. Let's go ahead and specialize in yellow. And, well, you know, great. Yeah, okay. So prowess is still in play. Okay, so we have two different hymns of the Third Age. Awesome. Now, unfortunately, can I respecialize? I can. Ooh, that is neat. Is it true, though? It is? No. Yes? No. No, I'll switch back out. Okay. I don't think that was enough to trigger a specialization change. Though that would be funny. Okay, let's go ahead and capture this banner. For the Tooks! Great. Now, some people don't like the large numbers that come with the high levels, but I kind of like being able to hit something for 100,000 damage. That's very satisfying. Alright, ik werde die anderen alarmieren. That almost sounds Dutch. I love how similar they are sometimes. Okay, so now that we have switched out, we can switch back in, but then pre-spec into blue. Awesome. And then we can do the same thing. We can come back in and test. Yes, okay. So we do get the Anthem of the Third Age Resonance. We got melody, and we got dissonance. So the small dash is the correct dash. My super apologies for any German people that I messed up with that mistaken belief that the combat log would match the effect hover over. And unfortunately, you can copy out of the combat log, but you can't copy paste out of the effect tooltip. And so I just went the easy route, apparently. Okay, so let's bring this back. Remind ourselves what's going on. Oh, yeah, that. So, I'm going to clean this all, patched it with your files out of the German strings. Awesome. So, other thing it has occurred to me would be, it'd be nice to have a little utility that you just throw a file into and it generates a parallel file in the ASCII mode. And then you can just release both of them. You never have to keep the one up to date. You just run that translation program and it spits out what you need. It seems like it'd be a useful thing. And then you can use the UTF-8 if it works, and if it doesn't, you can just swap in the other one. Or you only ship the ASCII one, universally usable, but you edit with the UTF-8 Unicode version. So those are thoughts that are bouncing around in my head on that. Okay. The pictures, I had to change the hyphens. Okay, so we fixed the hyphens. Let's actually go ahead and take a snapshot here. Oops. Let me, let me open up my source control utility here. And make sure there aren't any other unsaved changes while we're at it. Okay, let's come on in here to LOTRO plugins. No, we need a different one. We need the MinstrelBuffs repository. Okay, so the write buffs to chat, I'm going to go ahead and leave that for just a minute, just in case there's other things to look at. But we can see, okay, that's the only meaningful change. Fixed hyphens in German hymns of the Third Age. Okay, that is great. And now we don't have to worry about accidentally undoing that. We have a snapshot of it. Okay, let's take a look at that fixed mode actually. So there is a fixed anthems mode, and it uses the images here of what the anthems would be, except of course that's not correct. And so my first question is, are those images actually a part of that background, or has the plugin just plopped them in there? Ideally, it would just plop them in there from the skills, because then if anything changed in the game, you wouldn't have to match them up. But let's go ahead and come on in to Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, MinstrelBuffs and MinstrelBuff window, and then there are also resources. Is that what we want? I think we want that. But, you know, now that I say that, we should probably see how this options is referencing things. Now, is there an options? There is option window. Excellent. Select theme. Great. Not localized, but that's okay. And that is theme label. And then we have a list box. Awesome. List box selected item. Theme changed. Great. Let's take a look at that. All right. So, setting set theme index. Okay. Let's find set theme index. All right, in settings, we have that, and then we fire off theme changed. Awesome. Oh, which actually calls self restart. Self stop, self start. Okay. Tell me more about this start function. Okay. So, theme, I get theme names, awesome. Oh, sorry, theme equals settings get theme. Lovely. And then we're either getting something from the theme list or the war theme list. Okay, now we are getting somewhere. Okay, theme window fixed anthems. Lovely. And okay, we have the window background. Oh, and then it's changing the background based on whether we're in. Nice. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. And is it right? It's interesting. I'm looking at the fourth icon here. And when I switch into resident stance, that icon, is that meant to be the him? Hang on. Yes, that's meant to be the him. Oh, okay. So it's not setting the him icon correctly. It looks like it's basing it off of your. I'll have to check. But that's a slight inconsistency. Okay, and then we can see this is the background for the window background. So let's find that in resources. Oops. Yep, we have resources, and then we have Minstrel buff bar back. No, stop that. Minstrel buff bar background fixed. Okay, so it is this one. Now it's a TGA file. You may not have a built-in program to Windows that can edit that, but the GNU Image Manipulation Program, or GIMP, is able to, so I'm going to fire that up here. We are, of course, streaming an hour earlier from a European point of view because the United States has gone through daylight saving time. Congratulations on saving that time. We'll be saving some time ourselves here in about 2 weeks. Though I wish they would hurry up and be done with it. Okay, awesome. We can see that this image is doing what we're talking about. We have some transparency in the image, excellent, but I'm not seeing any transparency behind these icons. These icons look just gray. And if I go ahead and make a new layer just for testing, I'll actually call it for testing, delete me. We can go ahead and check out the transparencies a little bit more intuitively. So let's pick a contrasting color and just fill in that layer back there. Okay, so we can tell, yeah, lots of transparent stuff going on here, but not where the icons are. They're just sort of gray. Now the second question is, where did they get those grayed out icons? And the answer is, well, they're grayed out by default. So internally in the game, we have an enabled and a disabled version of those based on whether you have the balance. Awesome. I guess the final question would be, if I were to go down this route, first, what's a canonical order? I mean, if one wanted to be really fancy, one would let the user set up the order that they want these anthems to be in, like you just click and up and down and that kind of thing. It's a little bit beyond what we're looking at today. But I think that's a reason why I haven't pursued this, is I don't use the fixed version. And it just distracts me too much when there's empty stuff on, like I can fill that. No, I can't fill that. Why is it showing that to me? I don't know. I think if I were going to spend time, I would spend more time on the variable one and make it actually resize variably. Speaking of, while we're here, let's go ahead and open up the one I use normally. And that is going to be, from the theme list, we can see that is theme window, just theme window. Let's bring that in. Oh, theme with, of course. And the background is Minstrel buff bar background. So simple. Buff bar background. Okay, this is the default background. And we can do that same thing where we make a testing layer where we can make the transparencies a little bit more obvious, what is and is not transparent. I like the work they've done on this window. I'm very curious where it came from. Did someone just sit down and do that one day? Did they borrow it or get inspired by something else? But the important thing is, how would we modify this if we were looking to make kind of variable width? Which has nothing to do with localization, but it is on my mind. We saw this before where I had 4 different anthems, and golly, wouldn't it be nice if this thing just resized appropriately? Okay, I'm going to try not to get too distracted here, but that is a thing that I want to do. In fact, is there a to-do file? If there's not a to-do file, there should be. Yes. Okay, so this is Minstrel buff bar background. Can we cut it into pieces and make it bigger that way? Okay, so we're gonna just minimize that for a moment, and this. Oh, that's interesting. Why is that blue? Is it telling me that I can do that? That it's seen it? Hello, Druid's Fire, welcome! I am contemplating MinstrelBuffs in German. Druid's Fire says everything's better in blue. That may very well be. I never use the fixed anthems version, and so I just don't know what to expect there. Okay. Well, we did capture a flag, so I suppose we can move on in some way. Where's the road? Okay. So it seems like the first part, things are working in German. Oh, you're out and about causing trouble. Well, welcome to a stream in which that can happen. Actually, now that we've seen that the hyphen issue is resolved, small hyphens instead of big hyphens for the Anthems of the Third Age, I'm not convinced there's anything else to test on the German side of things specifically, which means it might be time to focus on the second and bigger part, which is probably why I'm mentally stalling a little bit, which was the files in ASCII mode instead of in Unicode UTF-8 mode. Okay, they even pointed out to a handy thing for the Titan bar maintenance. Neat. All right, let's take a look at that. First, I must sneeze. Excuse me. All right. Well, in that case, Tookland is going to have to deal with things by themselves. We're going to pop on out here, and then... Are we? No. I think it's fine. We'll just retreat a little bit. Stand by this fire, keep warm. Okay. So, let's go take a look at the Titan bar maintenance file, which is something that the most recent taker over of Titan bar threw together on their first release, and it's delightful. Oh, thanks, Fork. It's very nice to see that kind of a maintenance document in such a large plugin like Titan bar. It makes it a lot less intimidating to just jump in and try to do something. So, documents, in this case, I shoved it aside before the start of the stream. So we're going to come on in here to plugins, and this is Hotna? Yeah, there we go. All right, Titan bar maintenance, let's check you out. All files are encoded Ansi. Some of them were encoded UTF-8, but I had interesting results when using them. Yeah, I converted them back to Ansi because of that. Because the files are encoded, you have to use code for special characters. You can find the most commonly used in the code.txt file. Let's do that. Locale? Yeah. Ah, beautiful. Really? The division sign is a commonly used... okay. You do you. No, I actually really like the division sign, but apparently I don't know how to type it anymore. I use the following page to get the code for different characters. Awesome. Some text editors automatically convert Ansi to UTF-8. Turn it off. Fun. I don't actually know if my editor is doing that. So that's worth finding out. Okay, so we have this list of inputs and outputs, and now we just need a quick way to apply that. You know, I'm feeling a little lazy. Let's fire up Visual Studio and just write a quick little program, quick he thinks, that will take in a text file, or what we assume is a text file, and spit out that same text file, but with those characters changed. And boy, my computer is not expecting to do Visual Studio right now. I really meant to install VS Code before we got started here. All right, create a new project. All right. Zerbert in chat. Zerbert says, any chance of implementing a class buff timers? So all one has to do is select class, in my case, a Minstrel. Zerbert, I'm not entirely sure I understand what your question is asking. What I would, if you can throw more details in there, that would be great. I wonder if the auras plugin is something along the lines of what you're thinking of, although it doesn't support minstrels. So let me pull it up here for a second. The auras plugin has a very interesting UI where it shows you how much of whatever it is you have, power or a focus or something, your special thing that accumulates for a lot of classes, and then your different abilities and are they available or not. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking about. Wild says, I should be playing. Well, you could be. You could be playing. All right, let's go ahead and UTF-8 to ASCII converter. Okay, we'll just start it there. Oh man, I am behind the times. I really need to install Net 6 on my home computer. I've got Net 6 on my work computer, of course, but I just don't do as much Visual Studio stuff. And we're going to see if streaming works at all with Visual Studio, because it's kind of a memory hog. So, Wild is a hunter and is going through all the lore. What a great game. I agree. I'm quite fond of this game. Okay, so we've got a Visual Studio window. It went ahead and popped up on the other screen. Why not? Let's rein it in. There is an update. Awesome. Okay, so I don't code in C# live on screen very often, so I apologize for mistakes that I made. But what we want to do is assume that we're going to run this at the command line. And assume that the first argument that we are passed is the file that we're going to open. So we can actually say, instead of hello world, we can even say, oops, processing file, and go ahead and include that. We're going to use this if it's available in C#5. I forget what's available when. And we'll go ahead and think that the first argument is going to be that, and 0 argument will be the whole command line. But you know, I should double check that. Let's come back in here to properties, and we're going to come in for our debug properties and specify a file name. In this case, we know we want to do the MinstrelBuff window, so we're going to pass this, and we'll do strings.lua. Okay, great. So that is just the application argument that we're going to pass, as if we had run this on the command line. And then we can just actually put a breakpoint, which I so miss when doing Lua development. We can just put a breakpoint, run this thing, and go ahead and see what is in args. Refresh our memory. Is my instinct that args0 is the whole command line and args1 is the start of the breakout? Is that correct? We'll see. So we have our local variables here. Another thing I miss from Lua development, the lack of a debugger and a lack of looking at the state of variables. Okay. Oh, looks like I forgot to put quotes in there, and Lord of the Rings Online has spaces and is going to mess up that. So let's come back in here. We're going to surround this with quotes and do it all over again. Wild says, I've been with this game since beta. There's still areas I haven't been to. This game is so story rich. Yes, I was joking earlier about how I would love some Dutch billionaire to come and fund the game being translated into Dutch to help me learn Dutch. And you know, it's a joke because it would take that much money to it feels like to translate how much text there is in the game, how much story, how much a world they have built out here. Okay, so now we can see args. Okay, args. Oh, that's very good. We are not getting. I think my mind was trapped in C++ era. The first element of args here is just the thing that we want. Cool. So an easy way to manipulate files if you don't care about memory. Var. Oh, we should check if that's actually a file. If file dot. Whoops. Let's go ahead and throw using system.io in here. If you don't use C#, I recommend picking up a casual familiarity with it. It's useful when you want to go a step above Lua. So, file dot exists. Make sure that exists. args0. In fact, let's give that a nicer name. Var file to open process equals args0. We can go ahead and sub that in here in the string interpolation. And then if file exists, and actually if it doesn't exist, then we'll just spit that out and exit. Console.writeLine bad file name. I mean, it's a good file name, but we can't find it. It's fine. And we'll just exit right there. So at this point, the file exists. Erase conditions aside, the file exists. So var stuff to process equals file.read all text. Just slurp it all into memory. I don't recommend doing this on a huge file, but when we're just writing a little helper function like this, or a helper program, a little 20-line thing, it's fine, right? Don't worry about it. And then we're just going to write to the same file name, but with like dot ASCII. I don't know, some variation on the theme, so we don't have to prompt for what is the file name. So in fact, we can do that right here. Var output file name equals interpolated string, and we're going to do file to process dot ASCII. There we go. So the one thing we're going to want is a little helper function. Yeah, chat is happening. Sorry. Druidfire kind of helps Minstrel writer. Apparently he's too lawyer. That's funny. Ski, I do wish they had Spanish though. Yes. Dutch, I joke about because there's just not that wide of an audience for it. For one thing, if you are a Dutch person living in the here and now, you probably read English just fine. You don't need the game to be in Dutch, right? Like, it's so funny. They're kind of behind the US on accessibility things like subtitles. And so if a program is subtitled, it might be because it's for children, right? Like, there's just not a lot of subtitling for stuff targeted at adults, it feels like, on live TV. Anyway. Oh, Fire is talking about. Wild says they stop punishing for doing solo stuff. Yeah, the Epic line especially is very soloable, and I appreciate that. Like sometimes I run with four other people, and it's kind of a joke to do the Epic stuff in a group like that because you feel so overpowered. And then sometimes, I run solo, and it's just nice not to have to be like, well, I guess I'm not doing the Epic today because I don't have anyone to run with. And Druid's Fire says, I wish it'd stop punishing solo players who want to go back and do the old instant challenges that required you to run them on T2 at current max level. Druid's Fire, you should play on Treebeard because the max level is 60 and it's very easy. Yeah, Ski, yeah. I think Spanish has a much wider audience and would be a much more useful way for them to progress. So if there's a rich Spanish billionaire out there watching, maybe contact Standing Stone Games and offer to fund the translation of multiple books worth of text. Oh, Wild says, I'm super comfortable playing through the story and all of a sudden I'm getting killed. I can't speak to the higher end Epic stuff. The highest I've been is in Gondor, maybe poking my head into Mordor just a tiny bit. So I can't speak to anything end game. I am very much not an end game player. Druid's Fire might hear Little Redhead laughing in the background. The lavalier mics pick up a fair amount of background noise if it's meaningful. Wild likes playing the game when you can't die. I recommend playing a minstrel. Minstrels or bestrels, but I might be biased about that. All right, so let's go ahead and make a new helper function called convert character. And the default implementation is just to return the input character. We're going to do that so we can test out the rest of this and then swap in new logic. So for each var char in, I called it stuff, but we're going to actually call it text. There we go. Oops. Character in text to process. Oh, we do need to open up that file. Output stream equals new text writer, and we're gonna output file name. Let's see, did I do any of that correctly? What do you think? I feel like that's not right. Oh, of course. Oh, you know what? Our output text equals a new string. Very good. So for each character, output text. I don't want to do this, but it's fine. Oh, but of course we need to convert that character. This is a terrible thing to do. Converted character. This is not a great loop, but for testing purposes, it's going to get us in the right direction. Ideally, I'll just open up a stream and pipe it straight to that, but then I'll have to remember which stream class I want to use. So, convert character. All right, so the converted character, we're going to go ahead and append there. Actually, while I'm thinking about that, cool. Character is a character, of course. That's fine. So that gives us at least something that we can run with. So if I go ahead and, oh, nope, build failure, tell me more. Of course, we'll sort that out when we implement that function. So when we run that, it runs really fast because it's doing almost nothing. And that gives us nothing because we forgot to write it back out. So file.write all text, and then we just give it the path, output file name, and the contents, output text. Okay. So ideally, when we run that, we're going to get a parallel file, strings and strings Lyaska. Awesome. Now, if we compare those, we're going to see they are identical. Perfect. That's exactly what we expected. While it's been playing for years, there are places you're scared to go. George Fire was asked, what level is your character? And I think an equally important thing is, at least if your character, if the stuff that you are playing, the landscape stuff that you're playing is up to level 100, definitely make sure that the gear that you're wearing and the equipment that you're using is reasonably fresh. Talk to an armorer to make sure that you have crafted armor that matches the level of the content that you're going. Now, past level 100, I don't actually know if there's good crafted armor or if it compares with everything else, but definitely before then, it feels like if you have someone, especially someone as part of a guild, making stuff for you, that keeps you really able to keep up with the landscape content. Cool. Leave that for you to check in with Druid's Fire there. All right, so we have this terrible algorithm. This is a terrible algorithm because we're concatenating a character and then another one and then another one, and so it's an n squared loop, and that's just not great. Okay, stream writer. There we go. So var stream equals, I guess using var writer equals new stream writer. And then we have output file name. And then we can go ahead and writer.write converted character. Great. That'll make me happier because then the file system can just decide to write stuff whenever it wants to. No problems. I forgot to actually delete this file, but I see from the timestamp that it was just edited. Close enough. Let's go ahead and compare that. In fact, I'll just keep that up in the background. Awesome. So we have a little program who reads in a character and writes it back out to a new file. Perfect. Almost. Let's go ahead and do this convert character. So we have this lookup table. So if switch input character, and then case. So for each of these, we want a case. So let's go ahead and do a multi-edit to make it look like we want it to look. So we want it to look like case something. We'll pull this in. Can we do that case? No, okay. So return, and then we want it to look like this. Okay. And then default, we want to just return input character. But of course, the backslashes are going to cause us problems, so we'll go ahead and use an ampersand to take it as is. Well, 105 looks like we may have used a Valar, hovering at level 50-ish for years. Yeah, if you jump from 50 to 105, you definitely want to make sure that your equipment also comes up to speed, because if you're 105 with level 50 equipment, you're going to have a harder time encountering things. Of course, I can't return a character implicitly to a string, so we'll just go ahead and format it like that. Okay, so this is what I want it to look like. Now that we know what I want it to look like, we can take out, okay, so we can do a multi-select, and then we can do case, and single quote surround the thing, colon, new line, return, ampersand, string open, get rid of that, equal sign, close string, and semicolon. Right. And that gets us all of the special stuff that we want to do. Now, we could maybe do a lookup table and make this friendlier, but this is kind of our lookup table, right? So I think that's good enough for our purposes. And now if we run this program, what we're going to find is that there are changes exactly where we want them to be, and we didn't have to do them, right? So we have these accented E's, we have these umlauts all over the place, and we can see in each place that only that character has been swapped out. So now this is a safe file, hopefully, to consume for the international crowd. What server do you play on Wild? It might be that there are people who can help you with your equipment if that is where you need help. Okay, so we have that. And I would say we also could go ahead and convert the Minstrel effects file. I mean, we could probably convert all of them, but I think most of them don't need that. So minstrel effects.lua. What I really need now is a easier way to run this, I think, maybe. So we're going to go ahead and make a new batch file. Convert files .bat, which is just a file that has some commands. So first thing is we need to know, where is this thing? So properties, oops, no, I want to open it in Explorer. Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and just hard code that in for right now. And we want to call Untitled ASCII converter, and then pass in the name of the file. Yes, that, and then strings. And also do the exact same thing for Minstrel effects. And we're using absolute paths here. That way I don't have to worry about is there something weird going on with a relative path. Just absolute paths lock us in. Awesome. So if I go ahead and delete that ASCII file, just, uh-oh. Well, I'm not entirely sure what I deleted. If I deleted, let's go into fork and see. Okay, I must have pressed the wrong key and not deleted anything. So if we run convert files here, we go ahead and get a minstreleffects.lua.ascii and strings.lua.ascii. We can confirm what these changes are. Excellent. We can come in and see those special characters have been, even in the comment. You know, that's funny. Okay. All right. So that looks pretty good. And then we can confirm the strings.lua also looks good here. Okay, so this is an example where sometimes the solution to a plugin problem isn't necessarily writing a plugin code, but maybe jumping out and helping yourself out by writing something else programmatically. I wanted to avoid having to hand write a file that looks like, I keep closing it. I wanted to avoid having to hand convert each of those characters, and I wanted to avoid having to not being able to work in the left side here, where you can just see selbstgesprocht instead of selbstges, and then suddenly you're jumping into ASCII codes. And I can't look at that ASCII code and confirm that that is the character I want, whereas I can look at the A umlaut and say, yeah, that looks more reasonable. Or if I'm a native speaker, I can say, yeah, that's definitely correct. So the ASCII one is fine to ship and release, but that would be hard to use. But that being said, now that we have it, maybe we should see what is it like. So if I do .back, I should say UTF-8. Yep, I am okay changing that. And let's make a copy of the ASCII, and that is our new strings Lua. Okay. I think we're actually done with Visual Studio. We're going to go ahead and unload and reload the plugin, and then see, am I still able to use each of these? I am. So my apologies. I replaced the strings file, but not the Minstrel effects file. So we're going to go ahead and copy this in, and we'll call it .lua.utf8. If I wanted to be really nice, it'd be utf8.lua. That's okay. All right, I'll be nice to myself. ASCII.lua. Now we'll stop saying the, are you sure you want to change your file extension? All right, utf8.lua. Oh, interesting. How am I sorting these? Oh, of course. How funny. Okay, so we have the same thing over here. Minstrel effects ASCII.lua. We have a Minstrel effects UTF-8.lua. And so, which one do we have here? Let's double check. Okay, not the right one. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and overwrite the contents. There we go. So if I go ahead and unload and reload, ideally I will see the same stuff. Where am I? Oh, that's what we're doing. So I'll go ahead and use the cry of the chorus, and I'll go ahead and re-up each of those anthems. Perfect. And we can see that the ASCII version works just fine. So even though it's harder to read, for us, the computer obviously has no problem with that. Wild doesn't play this game to level up. Wild plays this game to quest. You know, Lord of the Rings Online is very generous with experience, I feel. And so I actually have a Stone of the Tortoise, I think it's called, over on Treebeard. I might even have one here, actually. Oh, but would it actually be called in German? Oh my goodness. Well, good luck finding that. Okay, well, I'm not sure if I have it on here. But Stone of the Tortoise to halt experience gains. Because ultimately, if I do all the quests in, say, the Shire or West Rohan or something, I just shoot past the level of the area. And so I much prefer to just hit the level of the area, hit that Stone of the Tortoise. Druid's Fire thinks a Bjorning is very powerful against landscape mobs. Alright, I guess I should try a different ballad. I'm so used to using Minor Ballad. But it looks like our Major Ballad works fine too. Alright, lots of messages there. I think they're encounters, but it's okay. Oh, Tor. Interesting. Alright, so, and then our perfect ballad shows up fine. Our major ballad shows up fine. And each of these three anthems in specific is showing up fine. Okay, so that helper utility that we just made to give us the ASCII versions of the files means that we can ship those with the plugin and just say, hey, if you're experiencing problems, just delete that file and put this one in place and give that a try, right? Like, you do you. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe UTF-8 works for you, but if it doesn't, here's this other version. And here's the simple instruction: delete this file, rename that one, done. Oh, sounds like Wild is quite happy running around with gray mobs so that they can just pay attention to the story and not worry about having to attack a specific, or being attacked by things. Awesome, that's a great thing. Yeah, that is not a Lord of the Rings Online specific thing, but I do appreciate that at a certain point mobs are like, I don't want any trouble. And they just leave you alone. And you can just go do your thing, which sometimes makes for comedic story beats, where you're supposed to go defeat the leader of the people, and you just walk past all the people, and you defeat the leader, and you walk right past them all, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. He was a jerk. We're totally with you on this defeating the leader thing. Just, go away. Okay, so I'm feeling very pleased with those two progresses. Let me find the window where I was kind of paying attention to what was going on. Oh, so many programs open in the background. I'm amazed if you all are seeing any of this. All right, let's pull this back over. Truthfire says other games might still have a level 10 wolf attack your level 100 character. Well, that is a very poorly strategic wolf. I played World of Warcraft before I played Lord of the Rings Online, and I think it was a similar thing there where landscape stuff eventually stopped paying attention to you. So that was a very familiar concept when I came here, so I just assume I picked it up there. It's funny. There's things I picked up there that I didn't necessarily realize I picked it up. I was mentioning the term proc, P-R-O-C, to Little Redhead the other week, the other month. I don't know. Time's an illusion. At some time in the past, I was mentioning something procking or talking about a proc, and she was like, "What on earth are you talking about?" And it was like, "Oh, it's this thing But I realized I didn't actually know the etymology of it. I didn't know why it was called proc. So I dug in online, and of course, there were explanations for it. It was like, this must have come out of the World of Warcraft community, because I wouldn't have come up with this on myself, by myself. I wasn't a mud player, and so someone else would have had to tell me this term, and then now it's just stuck in my head, right? And so that effect, usually from a weapon that can, I mean, I just want to use the verb proc. Like, it can occur when you hit, like, 10% chance to cause the enemy to go ow, right? Like, that is both a proc, and when it happens, it has procced. And so it's a very useful word, but it was, yeah, it was just one of those things where I was like, oh, that must be where I had picked it up, and now it's just in my head. But I don't see it as much when I peek into people talking about Lord of the Rings online. So I don't know if it's just because they prefer different lingo, or if it's just kind of not in line with the mood of the story, or what. But it was like, oh, wow, that's a blast from the past. Because, yeah, I haven't consciously been using that term over here. I figure at this point I'm so close to the end of the instance, and I love how the dawn approaches. So each time you take over one of the control points, the sky gets a little lighter. It's a very nice instance to play through. Like, not only are things getting metaphorically lighter, they're also getting physically lighter. Now, one thing I haven't played around with, is the Silicate Spirit Tracker. So might as well go ahead and see how that's going. Okay. Actually, I don't see it working. Now, you have to turn it on, so that's a key thing. Remember to come into Options and then enable the Silicate Spirit Tracker, or whatever that was in the German. Oh, of course, I'm in the right stance. I don't have it. All right. Let's go ahead and swap on over to a blue line. And there we go. Okay. So Silicate of Spirit Tracker is not working. Okay, that's exciting. Let's go ahead and take a moment to check on that. No! Stop scrolling! Oh my goodness. Excellent. People are talking about bushes in moose. And that is something I don't have a lot of experience with, so I'll just let that happen in the chat. Okay, let's pull up a text file and see what we're looking for and what we're missing. So first of all, thank you, Titan Bar Maintenance. That was amazing. What have I accidentally done? Okay. Let's go ahead and save that to do. Theme window, don't need it right now. Theme list, no. Settings, no. Buff window, no. Fine, no. Okay, cool. That simplifies what we're looking at. So what's going on here? What are we missing? Now, the Silicate Spirit stuff is in strings. So let's go ahead and pull that up. And let's look at combat and see if maybe we can have a single one. All right, the Tidlos. Okay. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Why is that different? Oh, of course. Of course. I completely forgot. If you are in dissonant stance, you have a different term for your healing abilities. So, this is resonance. And this is, I'm going to go with dissonance. dissonance. Okay. Did I get the right number of letters? Yeah. So, gesprochen des or gesprochen meins. Silicate of spirit, silicate of my spirit. Oh, man, I forgot about that. But it's not supposed to matter because we do have the dot star here. So let's take a look. First of all, okay, I didn't see it in either form. Let's just go triple check that the thing is on. Yeah, okay. Excellent. So let's look at the actual thing. Okay, so we have the critical as well. We're absorbing that. Excellent. Knit. Dot star mines or des. Yes. Okay. Off D and then on. I mean, it looks good actually. I was initially worried when I saw those. Oh, that's mines. Okay, don't need that. Let's critically succeed with not mine if we can. Nope. I'll try like 3 times. There we go. Okay, minus this. Yeah, okay. So what's missing here? Oh, actually what's missing is I really want those to go into the original file, not this modified version. So let's pull open UTF-8 and we'll go ahead and separate these out a little bit and you get these updated comments over here. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and save ourselves over strings. Yeah. So let's pull open an updated MinstrelBuff now. Okay, so I'm using the UTF-8 version is working fine. So let's come check what's different between them. We're going to go ahead first and run convert files. You know, I like the renamed thing. It's a little bit harder to do. So let's see, what's the correct? Yeah, okay. Perfect. So we're actually going to do a rename here. Rename just make life a little bit easier. Okay, so out of curiosity, how does that work if there are files in the way? It doesn't, or at least it doesn't seem to. Let's actually pull open a command line window real fast. Oh. Duplicate file name exists. Well, I don't want that to be a problem. How do I... strings.load.ascii. Will that work? Great. I don't use batch files very often, and I don't use command line commands very often. And so every once in a while, when I have to do something like that, it's like, pulling teeth. All right. So we know, and in fact, we can reload here, that Localized Spirit is working fine with this version. So let's come back in and hoist these ASCII strings back into the main file that we're using. And in fact, we don't need to do all of them. We can just do this one line where the A umlaut has been replaced. Let's try that out. And the smaller the amount of stuff you can change, the better when it comes to figuring out what's broken. All right, that was it. Okay. But why is it broken? Why is it broken? Okay, so to know why it's broken, we should see how they're both being used. So strings, Silicate Spirit pattern, we can do a quick little find to see where is this being used. Okay, awesome. So if we applied, we're doing a string.match. Seems like a reasonable thing to do, but I'm guessing that is causing problems. So let's see instead how the Minstrel effects is being used. So if we come in here to Anthem effects and find this, we see it's being used here in main. Oh, interesting. We're using it as a lookup entry. Huh. Okay, so it's a lookup entry into this table, and that is working. So they are two different things. String.match is not helping us out here. So if I typed in Lua string.match ASCII escape character, is there like an obvious first search result? Well, actually, what I think I want something a little bit more straightforward. So let's do some tests. Let's see what's going on in the code. So we have occurred to me I should find a thing that has the umlaut that we're actually seeing in use. So, which one is this? Minstrel effects. Hinder Tuchtigkeit. Alright. Where does that come from? Great. Can I re-special it? No, I'll have to change over. Okay, so we can make use of this string here and just start writing some test code. So if I were to come down and just right here even, we can do a local test name equals and get that. Local second, I should say UTF test. We'll call it that. And then ASCII test equals. And we want the ASCII version of that. So turbine.shell.writeLine, are they first string actually? UTF-8. And we'll go ahead and write out a couple of these. Whoops. UTF-8 and ASCII. Great. And then are they the same? Are they equal? And we can go ahead and write out a dump of UTF test equals that. Okay, let's try that out. So unload, reload. Let's go back to standard. So when we print it out, we can see they look the same in chat down here. They both come out with that umlaut, and they equate to true. Awesome. Now, real question, what about that string dot match? So the line looks like this. Local I'm getting distracted. Why am I not doing this with the quality of spirit? All right, so strings is there. And the ASCII version of that is here. Oh, that's funny. I didn't copy the UTF-8 version. Let me go grab that. All right. So let's actually compare the things we care about. So unload, load. Oh, perfect. I left the string.match in there. Okay, let's load this. So we see that internally the game thinks those are the same string. Perfect, that's how it's supposed to work. And then we have a test message to check. So local chat message equals this thing. Really? I did pull that incorrectly. Okay, so the test message here. Gonna have to escape those double quotes. All right, so what we're looking for is player name equals string.match, chat message, and UTF-8 test. And then we can just go ahead and write it back out. Shell writeLine, player in UTF-8. And we can dump out that player name in case it's null. I don't want to have the system reject that. And then we can just go ahead and reuse a player name here for the ASCII test. Player in ASCII. That'll be fine for our purposes. Okay, well, it's finding it. Wait a second. Okay. Well, if that's what's going on, maybe I need to be a little bit better about this. Turbine.shell. Shell.writeLine. We have pattern dump soliloquy applied. We have message And we have player. So what is actually causing? I just assumed that the regular expression was failing, but is that the case? You have to switch back to a form that has Silicate Spirit, mind you. Okay, let's come on in here. Okay, that other debug is coming back to haunt me. Let's come back in, and we can get rid of that right buffs. We're just going to discard that. Good. Let's reload. All right, so the player, oops, we're scrolling. Player tideless. Wait, this thing is running now. Which version do I have? Let's go ahead and make sure. String ASCII, strings, that will do it. Oh no, I had done just this pattern. Okay. Well, now I'm confused. Oh, was it the specialization? There are multiple ways for this to not work. Let's go ahead and double check where we are. So the strings we are doing with this, yes, awesome. I wonder if I can put a Silicate Spirit on Ivy here. I cannot. Oh well. Silicate Spirit is working here with the ASCII. Awesome. Then what on earth was my problem? Have I been chasing a non-existent problem? Maybe. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get so excited because you found something that doesn't work, and it's like, oh, it didn't work because of this completely unrelated thing. So I've unloaded the plugin. We're gonna go ahead and delete strings and bring in ASCII. And we're gonna go ahead and delete Minstrel effects and bring in ASCII. In fact, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to have a batch file for that, but I'm hoping to do this like a maximum of once more. So, fingers crossed. Okay, so the ASCII one works. Now, if we delete Minstrel effects and bring in the UTF-8 one, and delete strings and bring in the UTF-8 one, and then reload and do it all over again. Well, I might just have to go back and rewatch my own video to figure out what on earth I did wrong there, but this is great. It means that on my machine, both the ASCII and the UTF-8 are working, which suggests that if someone needs to fall back to the UTF-8, the Silicate Spirit tracker is going to be working just fine, and as we can see, other stuff is also working. Okay. Well, that's just strange. I wonder what I was... Oh, you know, what I forgot to do is change into resonance stance and make sure it's still working there. It is. Okay. Let's change into melody stance. Still working. All right. Well, whatever it was, I'm going to go with goblins. It seems to be better now. Cool. What are you? No, we can do without you. Okay, so let's come back into Fork and see all the things that we've done. Convert files seems to be mostly a me thing, as an important thing to do. Okay, to do thoughts. Let's just go ahead and commit that, get that out of the way. Main, we have all that testing. We're going to go ahead and discard that. It doesn't seem to be relevant. Oh, unless its presence was causing this to work. Its presence? Oh, because I used the same variable name? Oh my goodness. Oh, isn't that funny? Okay, so it was a real problem. Now we kind of regret not just staging that. Okay, don't delete things before you're ready for them to be deleted. Do I have a debug function? That'd be handy. No. Okay. Well, that's, when I was first writing that test code, I was like, maybe I should throw this into a function. And I was like, no, it won't matter. But because I was doing things at the file level, it did probably matter. So let me backtrack a little bit. And come on in here. Okay, so we have, oh great. Dump. That was actually very convenient because it lets me just see the thing I wanted to see. Alright, player name, type. Okay. So why didn't we see that? Add soliloquy, okay. What's going on here? Okay. Cool. We got into add soliloquy. Now, in the MinstrelBuff window file, we're going to go ahead and swap in the ASCII ones. Hopefully one last time. He said cursing the whole thing. And swap in the ASCII ones for the Minstrel effects as well. Okay. We're going to load that back up. Okay. I need you to stop scrolling. Thank you. But now it's working again. Is it working because I'm spitting out output? That can't be. And yet it feels like it is. Alright, here we are. I have to get a side eye at this thing. I hate it when problems just disappear and reappear. Alright, so what we have is we have the ability to ship both an ASCII and UTF-8 version of arbitrary files using a little utility we wrote up, maybe a dozen lines in C#. So what I will do is I will go ahead and bring back the UTF-8 ones and make sure there aren't any underlying changes that we need to commit. And once we're done with that, I think I gotta call it good because I am driving myself batty seeing problems appear and disappear, and that's not good for anyone. Okay, so Minstrel effects strings. Okay, cool. We had that reorganization of these comments. Reorganized comments for German section of strings. Great. We're going to go ahead and commit that. For a clarity, we're just going to go ahead and regenerate those files just to make sure. And then we could commit the UTF-8 version. I don't think... Do I want to do that? I'm not sure I want to commit either of these. I just might want to ship them. Yeah, maybe they just get shipped as part of the release, but they don't need to be committed. Maybe. I'll think about that. And then the Silicate tracker window, we have these comments, so I'm going to go ahead and remove these comments, discard. And you know what? No, stash. Stash one file, comments that should be deleted. Yes. Get out of here. And then, okay, still there. I don't know what was in my head. Okay, so we have our debug options, we have our dump function, doesn't need to ship, our batch file doesn't need to ship, everything's good. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and package up a release, and fingers crossed. This doesn't address the issue with the fixed window that we were talking about, but this is not my last time looking at this plugin. I love the idea of making the standard window a more variable size, where it's always at least 3 wide because that's wide enough for your ballads, but also popping in a 4th or a 5th anthem doesn't look terrible. So that's a thing in my head. Although actually an easy solution, a terrible solution, but an easy one, would be to make the underlying window just wide enough that if you do get them, they just draw over thin air. Hang on a sec. That's a terrible idea. I'm going to go look at that real fast. Okay, so this is in the window, the buff window. Sounds good. So where do we have a set size? Theme window width plus 200. There we go. Okay, that's why we can't do that just by itself, although that's delightful. What's going on here? We say set background. Do we say window set... I mean, that's kind of funny, actually. Hang on a sec. First of all, 200 was way too much. But second of all, let's pop back into the writing plugins thread that Garen put out there. Stretch in background will be cropped or tiled. This is the only setting where the image will be properly bounded by parent control. Scale? I don't want to scale. Actually, maybe I do want to set stretch mode to 1 because I'm not resizing it. And sorry, I'm just refreshing my memory about what all of these do. Okay, we're going to set stretch mode to 1. And after we set the size. So set size, awesome, self.window, set stretch mode 1, just for an amusement. Okay, that did not work. I was hoping it would turn off tiling. That is a no. It was such a quick, fix. But the problem is, it's the background of the window, not the background of a thing on the window. And the set mouse visible is false. Oh, that's so good. Okay, I'll have to think about that. I don't think that's that would have been a short-term fix if it worked. Oh, that's funny. No, we definitely need to set that size. It would have been a short-term fix because that would have allowed the extra anthems to be drawn at least. They would have just been drawn outside the bounds of the pretty-looking image. But because it's set up where it's the background of the window, not the background of a control immediately on the window, that's not a fast fix. And I was just looking for a fast fix. So we're going to go ahead and ignore that. That is a possibility for right now. So we'll come back to you on a future stream and make you more configurable is what we'll do. So I'm closing some extra windows here. We're going to go ahead and do a release. Now, for me, that means moving the files into a staging area. Well, that's an exciting window. I don't need that. So we're going to go ahead and move into... Oh, no, of course. Documents, plug it along. That's us. And we're going to do... Where did I put my releases? No. Well, that's funny. Hang on, I gotta figure out where things are. Little Redhead says Professor Corey would be jealous. Overlapping quests, unoverlapping quests. So orcs count for 2 star deeds and 2 quests. Oh, and Spring Festival is coming back, or maybe it already is back. I don't know. Nope, 2 days. So 10 a.m. server time, which means Little Redhead will be the first streamer who gets a crack at it on the official LOTRO stream channel. Excellent. Okay, in the meantime, I am just boggled a moment. Oh, of course. I made a whole separate directory called Plugging Along Releases that's sitting right next to Plugging Along, and it's just confusing me. Here we go. Okay, so the first thing I do is just go ahead and make a copy of the previous release because I like doing a little confirmation of what changes are actually going in. So this is the 1915. Well, in order for that to be a 1915, we're going to need to update the .plugin file. Sorry, I'm mentally working my way through the difference between a patch and a plugin. All right, so we've got the .plugin file. We're going to change that to 1915. Excellent. Versions are kind of arbitrary. Cord, Druidspire says Cord did say there's a new pet and other stuff, but didn't say there was a new mount. So I'd suggest setting lower expectations to avoid disappointment. See, I am focused more on deeds, Druidspire, and I couldn't help but notice, though this is German, that there is a new and that's not spring. It's the anniversary. So I'm looking forward to the new instance for the anniversary. There's some deeds related to that might be coming. But for spring, this is the first spring festival on Treebeard. We're on Evernight right now, so this character's maybe done some of that. But this will be the first spring festival on Treebeard, and so it'll still be new to our current main character's event. Yeah, so if you want a spoiler for the anniversary event, or I should say if you don't want it, then you should mute for the following 15 seconds or so. It's quite possible that event will involve shooting off fireworks for Gandalf at various places in Bree. And there are deeds related to doing that, it seems like an instance thing. So instead of having encounters where you defeat things, you have encounters where you set off fireworks. It seems like. That's just based off of some preview text that I saw. So that may change. We'll see. But yes, I'm very, very interested in that. So we have updated that, and we can come on in and do a comparison between our current one and our release folder. I'm going to use my personal favorite file comparison tool, Beyond Compare, but whatever works for you. We're not. We're only interested in files that have changed or new files because this is a patch. And so init didn't current file we're not sending to do, that's a no. Buff window, let's take a look at that. Ignored differences. Oh, how funny. Looks like I killed a space in there accidentally. Okay, class, none of that's changed. Main. All right, Vendar patch is a yes. That dump is a no. We could save that off so it's not in the way, but that's okay. Minstrel effects. We've got some updated, really? Tabs and spaces. Oh my goodness. We've got some updated comments here. And updated hyphens. Awesome. Now, we're also going to ship that ASCII version of Minstrel effects. All right, option window. Don't need that change. README. Should probably update the README while we're at it, shouldn't we? Yeah. All right. MinstrelBuff window. Let's take a look at that README. What did we do today? Who can even remember? That's why we have source control. All right. So things that we did today, starting there. No. That was February. Okay, so it's been a month. Okay. Fix several incorrect German translation strings. Yeah, no, we'll separate it out. Fixed hyphens in German anthems of the third age. Awesome. What else? To recognize comments. Okay, so no other real changes here. This is a lot of investigation and very little meaningful payoff, as it turns out. But that's okay. Sometimes you go down a few false cul-de-sac. Okay, so we have our 1.5, and we're changing the order in which we're doing things. That's all fine. All right, settings. We have all of the changes that we had for fixing up numbers. Great. All right, we have our string changes. And we're going to, again, include that strings ASCII in case anyone needs it. And finally, the MinstrelBuffs. We're going to pick up that 1.5 version. So do we see anything else that is different? Only the option window, and that's because of the show debug options. Now, there are various options that say sort of differences but no orphans, which makes it a little bit more obvious what's going on here. But sometimes I really like just seeing everything. Oops. Yeah. Or all. So here's that, and that all looks great. So that's our files for the patch. So at that point, we're good to go ahead and package that up, ship it off, and we'll call it good. So we have a new zip file that's going to be named the same as the folder. And into that, we're going to drag the folder that should be extracted into the plugins folder, in this case, MinstrelBuffs. It's going straight in there. There's no author name. This plugin may predate that convention. George Fire says, "How dare you spoil things? I gave you a warning. You were supposed to mute." Hopefully that's not too concerning. Little Redhead says, "I don't think you're allowed to double pluralize it. It's either cul-de-sac or cul-de-sacs." Secretary General's sounds fine to me. Okay, So we have our zip file, awesome. Now the one thing we don't have, well, a thing we don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have many things, are any updated documentation. So if we come on into LoRaWANGs Online, plugins, MinstrelBuffs, there is a docs section. So plugin description for LOTRO interface. Let's go ahead and make a new one for .5. Nice historical reference. So 1.4, we can just go ahead and, oops, forgot to update that one. Okay. 1.5, 2020, 2-03-15. Great. What did we even do? So this is why we have a README file, so we don't have to remember what changes we did. And on the LOTRO interface, I like to kind of just do a quick summary, because if you're curious, you can always read the text file for the line-by-line details. And if you're not curious, it's not great. It covers a lot of space. All right, let me drag that over there, out from under my face. And then what did we do? We addressed additional localization issues for French and German. Including save file, including preserving save files when switching between English and not English. Okay, neat. Then that's fine. That's a good message. Nothing else is really changing. And then we're good. So let's go ahead and publish a patch real fast, and then that'll be the end of the evening. So at LOTRO interface, if you already have released plugins or patches, you can go to the upload and update, or you can do it on that patch specifically. I like doing it on that patch specifically, so I'm going to list my interfaces, and then under the MinstrelBuffs without a combat timer, we're going to go ahead and scroll on down to edit. File version 1.5, and we're going to replace with the 1.5. So this was in documents, plugin along releases, and that was MinstrelBuffs 1915. Great. Now, the text that we're putting in here, we just have that, so we can just go ahead and copy paste that in, and we're good to go. All right, I don't need to delete any old archives. I'm confused why I'm only saying 1.1 and 1.2, but I don't need to worry about that. There's already images there. That's great. We're going to go ahead and hit update. Excellent. There's useful information here. If you've never read it before, please do read it. It describes why you may not immediately see your plugin being released. Excellent. But in the meantime, if I go back to LOTRO interface and go to list my interfaces, we can see it is pending, and hopefully it will be along soon. In the meantime, oh, don't modify. I just want to go look at it. Hang on a sec. MinstrelBuff. Yeah, let's go look at that. Oh, it is updated. Looks like it was a small change. Excellent. No? Okay. It is awaiting approval. In the meantime, we can respond to this person. Hello there. I had a chance to fix the hyphens in the release that just went out. I also included ASCII versions of the UTF-8 files. I should say ASCII encoded. Encoded versions of UTF-8 files. If needed, replace whatever they're called. I'll come back in. One of them is strings. If needed, replace strings.lua with strings.ascii.lua and minstrel effects with minstrel effects ASCII. I have not yet fixed the, oh, what's it called? Fixed Anthems visuals. That will come in a future update. Cool. And there we go. So, thank you very much, person who prompted me to look at that today. It was very handy to have a thing to focus on. And we can see in the time it took me to respond to that comment, this has been approved. This is now available for download. So, if I go back to list my interfaces, it's no longer in that intermediate state. We can see it is just updated. And apparently 4,000 times downloaded, although that counts downloads, not people. So apparently a non-zero number of people like this plugin. Cool. Okay. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to address those issues, or at least figure out which ones are correct / valid / reproducible on my system is the important thing. And I wanted to actually publish that instead of just sitting on it for another week or two, forgetting to actually publish it. So those were my objectives for the day. And now I'm just going to go defeat some baddies who are threatening Tookland and then call it a night. Oh, I should probably be in do damage mode. Nice. I know I'm like 9 levels over leveled everything here, so this isn't really me being powerful so much as me having wimpy opponents. But I do like being able to run in and just go and everything falls over. It's the best part of being a minstrel, besides all the rest of it. So, if you have any final questions, comments, or concerns, toss them into chat there. Otherwise, we have saved the tooks. We have fixed the plugin. I think we can increment the total numbers of instances completed on stream to 1. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any final questions or concerns in chat. So that's all we are going to cover today. Some explorations into localization for plugins. Some false paths gone down as we saw what we thought were problems, but didn't seem to be. And the development of a little tool that'll make, hopefully, future releases not mess anyone up. If they can't use the UTF-8 version of the file, hopefully they can use the ASCII version of the file instead. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins, especially localization. I do hope to see you next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.